Of all the members of the royal family who have struck out on their own, Sarah Ferguson is a maverick, the Duchess of York. Sarah, affectionately known as Fergie, has been in the public eye since the mid-1980s and was married to Prince Andrew from 1986 until 1996. Their divorce was just one of three imploded marriages that rocked the royals, then Prince Charles and Diana Spencer, as well as Princess and Captain Mark Phillips, separated roughly at the same time. Unlike the other spousal outcasts, however, Fergie managed to maintain somewhat of a friendly relationship with the firm and has continued to represent the royal family to this day, albeit in an unconventional way. Of course, her ex has been in the headlines over the last years for his problematic relationship to the late and disgraced Jeffrey Epstein. And Andrew's settlement with accuser Virginia Giuffre was the last straw for the royals. Andrew was pulled away from the public eye, stripped of his military titles, and has essentially remained behind closed doors ever since. What may shock you to learn, however, is that Fergie has been right there with him, supporting him in the questionable aftermath. There are, in fact, quite a few things about Fergie that are a bit odd, like how she dragged the royals in her 1996 memoir and the fact that she is technically related to her husband, that everyone seems to ignore. Sarah still lives with her ex-husband, Prince Andrew. One of the oddest facts about Sarah Ferguson is that she still lives with her ex-husband, Prince Andrew. Not only do the divorcees cohabitate, but they bought real estate properties together like any married couple would, except for the fact that they've been divorced for almost 2 decades. The couple have called the Royal Lodge home for years, and though there are whispers that they will be kicked out due to Andrew's allowance from the royals being slashed, they are still within its walls. Speaking to Fox News about the dynamic, British Public Affairs Officer Shannon Felton-Spence said that not only do Fergie and Andrew live together, but Fergie speaks glowingly about him. She constantly talks about how she got the best-looking prince. They have maintained an extremely close relationship, Spence said of the ex's dynamic, which has survived divorce, scandal, and the Epstein saga. By all accounts, the Yorks are a very tight-knit family. A real unit. Of course, the Epstein scandal did rock the family of 4, and Spence estimated that Fergie likely focused on her daughters, Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, throughout the headline-making debacle. Still, however, she has chosen to maintain her living arrangement with Andrew and stay by his side despite the drama. Fergie is oddly not included at all on the royal website. Any royal watcher will tell you that the royal website has been a point of contention lately. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, whose children were entitled to prince and princess designations, did not see an update on the royal website in a timely fashion. It was a fight for their children to be given the titles anyway, in part thanks to the couple's estranged life in California. But they aren't the only ones who have experienced a snub at the hands of the website. Sarah Ferguson is completely absent from the highly trafficked landing page and isn't even included in Prince Andrew's About section. While on the website's royal family member page, you have to scroll all the way down, past royals you may never have heard of, to get to Andrew's section. Unlike all the other members of the family who have their work detailed on their own pages and sections, Andrew's simply reads, on the 13th of January 2022. Buckingham Palace made a statement regarding the Duke of York. With the Queen's approval and agreement, the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen, and the Duke will continue to not carry out public duties. There is no mention of Fergie, their royal wedding, or the welcoming of their 2 children who are also princesses. The Duchess surprisingly reunited with her first serious boyfriend in 2022. It's been a bit surprising to most that Sarah Ferguson has remained so close to Prince Andrew, given that their divorce was quite the scandal and they didn't see a way through their marital difficulties. But he isn't the only ex she is close to. In fact, during a skiing trip in 2022, Fergie reunited with her first serious boyfriend, Paddy McNally, who she left for Andrew way back in the day. Joining her 2 daughters and their husbands on the trip, Fergie and McNally rang in the new year together at his impressive home in Verbier, appropriately dubbed the castle by him and his crew. Though he had a girlfriend at the time, a source told the Daily Mail amid the celebrations that McNally and Fergie picked up their friendship right where they left things off. And it was clear that they were reminiscing and relying on each other to get through a rather tough spot given Andrew's ongoing scandal. Patty spent a lot of time with Fergie, rallying round her by putting on a lavish fireworks display for her family, minus Andrew of course. The source said at the time, most of Andrew's remaining friends, the ones who used to go to tramp with him, were there. Fergie enjoyed spending time with her dear friend Patty, whom she adores. Fergie has defended her ex-husband despite the allegations against him in the time since her divorce from Prince Andrew. Sarah Ferguson maintained her firecracker persona and made it clear that she would not be losing her fiery spirit despite her marriage ending. In fact, she's carved out a space for herself as an author, releasing both memoirs and books, hitting the headlines amid press tours to promote her work. Speaking of her reputation and status as a rule breaker, especially by royal standards, Fergie told People in 2021 that she hasn't always enjoyed being at the center of attention. Of course, her ex-husband's scandal made all of that much more intense. When you have a sense of humor and you're a redhead, everyone takes you for a big hurricane, she said. But sometimes you don't always want to be the storm. In the brief moment that she addressed Andrew and his association with Jeffrey Epstein, the stripping of his military titles, and the general fallout he experienced, Fergie had nothing but supportive comments for her ex-husband, a move that was a bit surprising. Whatever challenges he has, I will stand firm to the co-parenters that we are together, she said. I believe that he's a kind, good man, and he's been a fabulous father to the girls. Sarah attended Diana Spencer's wedding, but not for the reason you think when then Prince Charles got engaged to the young Diana Spencer. The world anxiously waited for the royal wedding, tying the knot on July 29, 1981 in the wedding of the century. Charles and Diana looked to be the picture of a fairy tale, though we all know that was a far cry from the truth. Nevertheless, Westminster Abbey was full to the brim of invited guests, and the streets of London were overflowing with supporters who wanted a glimpse at the bride. In attendance at the wedding was a young Sarah Ferguson, and while you may think that she was invited due to her affiliation with Prince Andrew, you'd be mistaken. As it turns out, Fergie and Diana were actually fourth cousins, and when Diana and Charles got married, Fergie and Andrew weren't even dating yet. The two women were connected familially by the Duchess of Devonshire, Georgina, who was born into the Spencer family. Also linking Fergie and Diana were their mothers, Susan Barontes and Frances Shand Kidd, whose connection dated all the way back to their days in school, though they would eventually become sisters-in-law. Diana and Fergie clearly had a link that dated back generations. The two became quite close in the 1980s and certainly became the picture of youth amid the royal family. Their relationship, however, was not without its drama. The Duchess doesn't consider her mother to be her real parent, though we were all expecting it given her declining health and age. Queen Elizabeth II's death in September 2020 certainly rocked the world. So many of us had simply become used to her always being around, and to think that she was no longer the monarch was a fact that everyone had to come to terms with. As for Sarah Ferguson, she was able to maintain a good relationship with the Queen despite her divorce from Prince Andrew, and in the aftermath of her death, Fergie shared just how deep their connection was. The Queen essentially filled the role that Fergie's mother would have if she had stayed in the Duchess's life. We were very close, Fergie said of Elizabeth while appearing on Live with Kelly and Ryan in March 2023, before recalling the strained relationship she had with her own mother. I put it like she was more my mother than my mother because Mom went to run off with a very good-looking Argentine when I was about 14. And that's when the Queen was first in my life because of polo and things like that. Then she became my mother-in-law after I married Andrew, and she was always there with that wonderful hand that you could never see behind your back. It was the support. That's what the nation felt, and that's what the world felt. Sarah and Diana had a massive falling out over an odd medical condition, while undeniably deep. Sarah Ferguson and Diana Spencer's relationship was not without drama. The two women were at incredible odds as their bond came to an end in 1997.